So Fox News is playing a hacky game of Gotya with Bernie Sanders, and it's just hilarious that they think this stuff still lands in 2019. Let's watch and then we'll discuss.
Next, Bernie Sanders getting called out on the campaign trail after rolling out his $16 trillion Green New Deal. Turns out the socialist is a bit of a hypocrite, though, when it comes to climate. Watch.
You seem adamant about climate change.
Yep.
Of course. So what ways would you take to practice what you preach if you were to become president?
No, I'm not going to walk to California. All right, look, I understand that. We do the best we can as an example, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that we're not going to use fossil fuels. I'm not going to tell you I'm not going to get on a plane. That would not be true.
I mean, it seems like people like Bernie have a higher threshold, Martha, when it comes to, walking the walk.
Absolutely. I mean, when I watched that moment, it reminded me of when we did our town hall with Bernie Sanders, and it had just been announced that he made over $1 million on his book. And I asked him, you say that millionaires and billionaires should pay more in their taxes. So would you volunteer, to walk the walk, to say, you know what, I should be paying more because I am now a millionaire.
What did he say? I forgot.
He was mean, first of all. and he said, why don't you pay more? And I said, well, I'm not running for president, and I'm not advocating any of the things that you're talking about. But why wouldn't you? So he doesn't like to be pressed on these issues that he claims to feel strongly about, and that was another example.
You can tell, you're right, that is his biggest weakness. When you accuse him of hypocrisy, he gets very defensive.
Yeah, but he's defensive because he's not a hypocrite, and you're smearing him. So of course he's going to be defensive. Why wouldn't he be defensive? That's the correct response. That's the accurate response. I mean, these guys are so ridiculous. I love when they pressed him on that. Like, Bernie Sanders has never said, I'm in favor of banning book sales, and Bernie Sanders has never said, I'm in favor of banning all millionaires. So this idea that he's a hypocrite is just utter nonsense. And just for the record, he's the poorest member of the Senate. The poorest member of the Senate. And also, would Bernie Sanders hesitate to raise his top marginal tax rate? No! He's in favor of raising the top marginal tax rate. Whatever bracket he falls in under his plan, he's going to be more than happy to pay. They don't make any sense, and they have no real argument, so they just throw mud against the wall and hope it sticks. Now, finally, to the main point here. This, attempted a gotcha hypocrisy burn on climate change is so tedious and so stupid. And I just want everybody who's listening to this, who maybe you're on the right, maybe you are skeptical of climate change, just know that even if that's the case, do yourself a favor. Reel it in and don't use this criticism, because it makes you look like a giant jackass. And here's why. 100 companies are responsible for 71% of global emissions. Let me repeat that. 100 companies are responsible for 71% of global emissions. So what does that mean? What that means is, no matter how much hand-wringing you do and blaming the individual you do and hypocrisy burning individual people you do, that wouldn't even put a little tiny dent in climate change. Bernie Sanders and every other person who talks about climate change could wake up tomorrow and say, I'm going to do zero carbon emissions. And guess what? Nothing would change. Because 100 companies are responsible for 71% of emissions, which means the only way to fix this is through systemic reform, is through regulation, is through a new economy with green and renewable technology. So when you try to hypocrisy burn people because he took a plane when he's running for president, you look like the biggest idiot on the planet, and I can't even put into words for you how that immediately delegitimizes you in the eyes of any serious person anywhere. So stop. Just stop. Just stop. And Fox News in 2019 is still running these segments like, we got him. Bernard takes planes. See, this is what happens when you have nothing to say, but you want to partake in the conversation, in the national political dialogue. I was tweeting about this yesterday, and we'll get to another story that is actually the very next story where we talk about this, but I'm not sure I have ever seen a far-right critic of Bernie who has accurately characterized his beliefs. That's not hyperbolic. That's true. I've never seen it. Now, maybe I'm wrong, and by the way, I am more than happy to give credit to somebody who disagrees with Bernie but handles it honestly. So in other words, Ron Paul and Bernie Sanders having a debate about the economy. That would be a genuine debate. They would actually disagree. But Ron Paul, even though I think he's wrong, he doesn't have to resort to telling Bernie what he thinks his beliefs are and making it up to try to make it appear more negative than it is. He doesn't have to do that because he actually is an honest actor in the conversation. Whereas all these other far-right critics, they never, seriously treat the beliefs and accurately describe them. They build up a straw man, and then they beat down the straw man, and then they walk around as if they're some sort of intellectual champions, and they're not. Because we've heard the arguments. The arguments are nonstop. It's, oh my God, something, something communism. Oh my God, something, something vuvuzela. Oh my God, what are the other ones? Shit, I don't have the tweet in front of me. But there's 4 or 5 go-to points. Free everything. That's the other one. Total government takeover of the economy. All this stuff. And none of it is true. None of it is true. Not even close to true. Because Bernie is crystal clear in his responses to it, man. No, I want a system like Sweden or Denmark. That's really not asking too much. Yeah, all I want is healthcare for everybody and college for everybody. And no, I'm not trying to fully ban, private businesses. No, I don't agree with any version of authoritarian communism. I'm in favor of more of a social democratic system, which he calls democratic socialism. And the list goes on and on. They're not serious people engaging in this conversation. They're straw men and smear merchants. So, I'm just annoyed by it. It's just so frustrating. And we got a lot more of it coming, but I'll tell you what, it is a good sign though. Because you know what they do? They massively overreach with their attacks on Bernie and they fall flat. The attacks fall flat. So, and by the way, this is all they got, because when they had Hillary Clinton to run against, for example, they were able to bring up real stuff like, oh my God, the Goldman Sachs speech. Oh my God, you're massively corrupt. Oh my God, the Iraq war. Now, they're not honest critics there either, because a lot of them supported the Iraq war and then they turn around and hit Hillary for voting for the Iraq war. But there was more substance there, so it was easier to attack. With Bernie, they have to overreach because they got nothing and it lands flat. So if it's Bernie versus Trump, this is, another example of we'll just obliterate them, because this is the best they could do, man. Trying to hypocrisy burn him because he's taken airplanes.